Jinx is one of the most nuanced perspectives in the whole of Arcane. In fact, it's her character that moves the story the most in the first season. And while there are a lot of character perspectives that are interesting to follow, in this video we'll be following Jinx and how she saw the events of Season 1. So basically, this is Arcane through Jinx's eyes. So let's get started. Powder's story starts similarly to Vi's in that the show opens with them holding hands as they go through the aftermath of the Vander-led rebellion. They're looking for their parents, but all they can find is Vander, who then points to the lifeless bodies of their parents. He carries the children back home, crying. We jump ahead a few years. Vi and Powder are now accompanied by two others, Clagor and Milo. They're their foster brothers, and they're jumping across the rooftops of Piltover, planning a robbery of a certain apartment. It's made pretty clear that Powder is the least skilled of the group, and she has difficulty keeping pace. In the apartment, she strays into a separate room from the rest, and she finds glowing blue orbs. At the same time, the owners of the apartment arrive, and the gang hurries to get out. She pockets these blue orbs, but an explosion suddenly occurs, blowing up half the apartment. This alerts the authorities, or the enforcers, and the gang hurries to get back to the Undercity where they're from. Once they get away, Clagor and Milo blame Powder for what happened. She denies this, and Vi takes her side. On their way home, they're surrounded by a group that has been following them and is led by a boy named Deckard. The gang fights, and they entrust the loot to Powder. She runs, but is chased by one of the gang members, and upon failing to make a mini explosive to stop her pursuer, she tosses the loot into a nearby lake to get away. After rejoining her own group, they get mad at Powder again for losing their loot. Vi defends her again, and they go back to the last drop bar where they live. Vander, their foster father, finds out about the job they did and gets mad at them. Vi answers back, and the whole gang except for Vi is sent out. During this time, Powder retrieves the blue orbs that she pocketed, and she tries to show them to Vi. Unfortunately, she overhears Vi and Milo talking about her. Thinking that Vi is now also against her, she goes to her room on the verge of tears. Vi talks to her and explains that it wasn't the case, and then proceeds to take her to the rooftop of the bar. There, Vi shows her all the places where each member of the gang screwed up and how they overcame it by sticking together. It's here that Powder shows her the blue orbs that she stole and asks if she should show the others. Vi decides not to let anyone know, and they let it pass. Okay, so it's important to know that Powder didn't actually know that she was the cause of the explosion in Jace's apartment. That's why she denied it. However, with Vi being so overprotective, she would have defended Powder whether it was her fault or not. You can also see this by how Clagor and Milo reacted to both Vi and Powder. So in a way, with Clagor and Milo always getting mad at Powder, and with Vi actually defending her and not letting her fight her own battles, it kind of stunted her growth. And as we see in the future with Jinx, a lot of the factors that could have contributed to her inferiority complex could have started here. With the enforcers coming after them, Vander orders them to lay low. They start to hide out in an old arcade, where Powder repairs the games and proceeds to demolish Milo in a shooting game, while Vi practices using a punching game. You see the high scores, and we see that each sister is dominating their own respective games. Powder takes a peek outside into the streets and sees a guy being thrown into the arcade by some enforcers. The enforcers then notice the gang and go to investigate because they fit the description of the kids that they are looking for. Unfortunately, it turns out that Powder is still bringing the Hextech gemstones, which Vi also notices. She orders a retreat, and they make it back to the last drop with the help of Little Man, aka Echo. There, they find Vander being confronted by a scary-looking woman named Sevika, who wants to fight back against Piltover. Vander declines, but Vi also wants to fight back. It's here that Echo reveals that Vander has a deal with the enforcer called Grayson to keep the status quo. After a few days, an enforcer called Marcus barges into the last drop demanding to see the kids. Vander is able to alert the kids using a makeshift alarm Powder made, and they are able to hide. Powder almost gets spotted though, and this enrages Vi, causing her to get mad at Vander again. He talks to her again, alone. After their talk, Vi goes to Powder and gives her a stuffed bunny. Powder, sensing that something bad is about to happen, goes to Vander and shows him the bunny. Vander immediately picks up on what Vi wants to do and goes out to stop her. First of all, we can see both sisters have something to offer in the arcade. Vi is very strong, and Powder is very smart and skilled in a lot of other ways. However, because we're in the Undercity, we can see that strength is valued a lot more than smarts or skills. That's why the gifts of Vi were so much more appreciated than the gifts of Powder. So that's why even though we can see the genius of Powder, the people of the Undercity couldn't really see it. Also, in this part, we can see how Arcane subverts payoffs because because instead of Vander being able to save Vi, it was Vander that was taken instead. Powder smiles when she sees Vi, but when she notices how panicked Vi is, she gets worried. Vi explains that Vander has been taken, and she starts gathering stuff to get him out. Claggor and Milo demand to come, and Vi agrees. When Powder tries to go, Vi doesn't allow her because she isn't ready yet. Instead, she gives Powder a flare that she can use to call on her whenever she needs her. When Vi leaves, Powder goes into a negative spiral, and she begins to cry wildly until she realizes that the explosion was caused by the Hex Gems. Knowing this, she then follows the gang bringing the Hex Gems. Once she arrives there, she climbs up the window and can only see that the gang got cornered into a room. She wants to help, so she remakes a mini explosive, but now with the Hex Gem attached. She releases a makeshift toy, and it explodes right in front of the door where the gang is stuck. She's flung away, but she's ultimately unharmed from the fall. With a big smile, she later finds Vi outside, telling her that her toy finally worked. Vi is shocked and makes her look around at the chaos. There, she finds Milo and Claggor dead, and she finds Vander's dead and mutated body on the floor. She breaks down and Vi slaps her in the face. She begs for Vi not to leave, but is ultimately left alone until Silco arrives. She hugs him, feeling alone, and she tells him that she has no sister anymore. Well, as they say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. If that doesn't describe this, then I don't know what will. So yeah, she finally figures out that she's the cause of the explosion in Jace's apartment, and she actually tries to harness it and tries to save the gang. However, everything goes awry, and you know what happens next. However, it's also important to note that while Powder did say that she didn't have a sister anymore, it's all because she didn't know that Vi actually didn't abandon her. I explain it a lot more in my Vi POV video, but she was trying to go back to get Powder. However, Marcus intervened. So thanks to Marcus, she'll be spending the next 5 to 7 years with extreme bouts of mental episodes. And how do we know this? Well, it's all thanks to the Council archives. It's a collection of what went on during the time skip, and it's a good read to explore a little more about the characters that we follow. And while I explained that Vi in my other video had gone through physical torment in prison, Jinx had gone through extreme mental torment in the Undercity. She gradually got into Silco's business as he made her do jobs for him. Consequently, they bonded over time as well. Still, she started hearing the voices and hallucinating during this time, and she fell deeper and deeper into madness. After going through mental turmoil and being integrated into Silco's gang, Jinx joins a job to smuggle some shimmer through the Hex Gate. The Hex Gate is a product based on the Hex Gem technology that Powder initially stole. During this job, she protects the shipment from a group called the Firelights almost single-handedly. However, she also goes wild when she spots a Firelight who also looks like Vi, and it almost ends up compromising the whole job. Having failed to protect the shipment, Sevika, who led the job, reports Jinx to Silco. Jinx comes clean and corroborates her report. Silco gets mad at Sevika and goes easy on Jinx. He reassures Jinx that Vi is dead, and we also see that she's also like his daughter. He tells her to take some time off, which Jinx does not appreciate. It's during this time that she goes through a mental episode where hallucinations of Milo and Claggor goad her into doing something to prove herself. She decides to rob Jay Stalis, who is an established character in Piltover. She executes her plan during Piltover's Progress Day, and she's able to take out a few enforcers by causing an explosion. Using this as a diversion, she steals Jace's journals and Hex Gems from his workshop. Back in her own workshop, Silco barges in and yells at her for what she's done. She responds to this by showing him the Hex Gem, which makes him go silent. Okay, so basically during the time skip, she spiraled deeper into psychosis and formed a father and daughter relationship with Silco, and the rest is history. Her inferiority complex is still going strong, and it's also being aggravated by her PTSD. That's essentially what pushes her to steal the Hex Gems from Jace again, but it's also important to note that she didn't really know that she stole from Jace in episode 1. So basically, she doesn't know that she's repeating the same mistakes she did as a child. However, this is essentially the point of no return for Jinx because of the gravity of what she's done. Jinx begins to try and reverse engineer the Hextech gemstone through Jace's journal. All throughout this ordeal, she continues to have hallucinations of Claggor and Milo, but she gets the gemstones to react. However, the sparks remind her of the explosion, and she realizes that this piece of tech is what caused the explosion all those years ago. In shock, she stops her work. She goes back to the old arcade where they used to hang out, and there she tries out the boxing machine. Even after the time skip, she still can't beat Vi's score. She returns to the last draw drop, witnessing the exchange between Marcus and Silco, and Marcus is beginning to have doubts. So as soon as he leaves, Silco asks Jinx to hurry up with the weaponization of the Hex Tech. Jinx reveals her doubts to Silco, and Silco takes her to the place where Vander tried to drown him during their falling out. He recounts the story, but Jinx tells him that she already knows about that. Still, Silco bathes her in the water of the river, basically trying to symbolize the rebirth of a new her. After this, he tells her that she is perfect, and with a renewed sense of confidence, she is able to complete the reverse engineering of the Hextech gemstone. So as we see here, it's only really now that Jinx discovers that it was Hextech that caused the explosion all those years ago. This sends her into a negative spiral, and the only one who can really stop it right now is Silco, so she goes to Silco. It's important to note that Vander never really had this kind of relationship with Powder in the past. Vander was always closer to Vi, and Powder couldn't really talk to Vander the way she does with Silco as Jinx. So in a way, a lot of it contributed to how she turned out right now. After completing her task of reverse engineering the gemstone, she notices that Silco and Sevika are out all the time. She knows that something off is going on, so she goes to the last drop to get somebody to tell her what's happening, and there she finds out that Vi is still alive. Jinx waits in Silco's office, trying to catch one of them to get them to tell the truth. She corners Sevika and is able to trap her, so she asks her what's going on. Sevika happily obliges, and in perhaps one of the most unintentionally funny moments of Arcane, Sevika tells her the truth. Now that she knows that Vi is alive, she takes the flare that Vi gave her all those years ago and lights it up at the highest point of the Undercity. After a few moments, just when she's about to give up, Vi finally arrives. They try to explain things to each other, but it gets complicated when an enforcer with Vi, Caitlyn, comes running up to them. Jinx thinks it's a trap, but before they get to clear up things, the Firelights attack them and kidnap Vi and Caitlyn. In a fit of rage, she takes her Gatling gun and fires it all around, screaming at the top of her lungs. However, like I mentioned in my previous video, Vi's priority is Jinx, and in a way, Jinx's priority is also Vi. The two still have strong bonds together, and in a way, they're still looking for each other. After this, Jinx waits for Silco in the last drop bar. As he arrives, Jinx ambushes him and forces him to tell her what's really happening. Silco doesn't really lie, but he does feed her information warped by his own twisted sense of perspective. He manages to convince Jinx that Vi and Caitlyn are only there for the gemstone, and in desperation, he pleads for Jinx to finish the Hextech weapons. And since Jinx lost the Hextech gemstones to Vi and Caitlyn, what she does is stake out the bridge between Piltover and the Undercity. She has her explosive firelight bugs in the ready, and sure enough, she eventually comes upon Vi and Caitlyn and Echo with the Hextech gemstone trying to cross the bridge. She gets mad when she sees a tender goodbye from Vi and Caitlyn, but calms herself down. Caitlyn and Echo arrive at the blockade that was erected due to her previous attack, and it's here that she launches an attack of her own on the enforcers, Caitlyn and Echo, by sending out the explosive bugs. As she goes to retrieve the gemstone, she is enraged when she sees Vi come back for Caitlyn and Echo. In a fit of rage, she opens fire on the two with her Gatling gun, only to be thwarted by Echo sending his hoverboard at her. Echo and Jinx square up as Vi and Caitlyn use this chance to get away. As Jinx begins her attack, Echo evades her by using her previous attack patterns when they were growing up. He manages to reach her and beat her, but is unable to finish the job due to emotional damage. Jinx takes this opportunity to release a grenade, taking the both of them down. So right now, Jinx is beginning to lose faith in Silco. The return of Vi made her question a lot of things, but the main thing driving her right now is whether they can go back to normal. If Vi didn't go back for Caitlyn, there's a good chance that she wouldn't have gone wild. So now, because Vi came back for Caitlyn, it's Silco's story again that's gaining some traction. So again, it's causing a rift between the two sisters. Jinx goes in and out of consciousness thanks to the shimmer that Singed used to heal her on Silco's behest. She doesn't really know what's going on, but because it's causing her so much pain, she hallucinates that it was Vi and Caitlyn that was torturing her and causing her so much emotional and physical pain. Once she recovers, she goes straight for Caitlyn's house, not even bothering with Silco who was asleep beside her, and there she kidnaps Caitlyn after she takes a shower. Now, Jinx never knew about Vi coming back to save her after the explosion, just like how she never knew that it was Silco that actually subjected her to the painful recovery path of the Shimmer Potion. It also says something that during her painful recovery process, it was Vi and Caitlyn that she saw. It was a mental reflection of how Vi and Caitlyn isn't just causing her mental anguish this time, but also physical pain. Back in the Undercity, she follows Silco after he gets gets back from a meeting with Jace. There, Silco drinks under Vander's statue and laments how having a daughter is their downfall. Jinx misunderstands this and she kidnaps Silco. The next one on her list is Vi. She finds Vi having an intense fight with Savika and she waits for Vi to win. After their fight, she knocks Vi out and brings all of her victims to the old cannery where the old gang died. Jinx sets up a feast of sorts where everybody she kidnapped and the likeness of Flagor, Milo, and Vander are seated around the table. Among the seats are two empty ones with names written on them. One is Jinx and the other is Powder. She forces Vi to choose where she should sit, but with a twist. If she shoots Caitlyn with the gun that she gave her, she'll pick Powder. If not, she'll pick Jinx. During this time, Vi is able to talk some sense into her, but before she can fully get through, Silco is able to convince Jinx that she's perfect just the way she is. With Jinx conflicted, Caitlyn is able to get out and grab the Gatling gun to point it at Jinx. Vi pleads for Caitlyn not to shoot her, and Caitlyn hesitates. Jinx uses this and is able to grab the Gatling gun back. Amidst the chaos, Silco is able to break free and he tries to shoot Vi. Jinx automatically tries to save Vi and kills Silco. She runs up to Silco, whose last words were that she was perfect and that he was never going to give her up. With this, Jinx sits on the seat named Jinx and grabs the hex core to use it as ammo for her rocket launcher. She targets the council chambers and fires. Jinx kidnapping everyone just means that everything that was stopping her from doing this before is gone now. The very act of having Vi choose where she should sit by killing Caitlyn means that the old Powder isn't there anymore. All in all, for Jinx and Powder, the main motivation of their character is who to be. It's basically an identity crisis from the get-go. And in losing one identity, she stands to lose everything that identity had. In this case, it's family. Will it be the foster father or will it be the biological sister? It's this kind of perspective that makes Arcane so compelling to watch. It keeps us on the edge of our seats that we stick around to see what happens next. There are other perspectives that are just as complicated and as compelling as Jinx's perspective. So if you want to see more perspectives and more deep dives into their characters, check out this video right here. Anyway, have a good day and I hope you like this video.